Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Namaskar, welcome you all on our YouTube platform BAOUGujarat and friends. Today we are going to talk about listening skills. Friends, in the previous lecture of the same series we have seen that how it's important to learn and to acquire hands-on on the specific skills known as one of the integral part of communication, that is listening skills. We have also seen in the previous lecture that this listening skill is one of the receptive skills of the communication. And in the process of communication, it's very important that we play a role of a good listener so that we can understand the message received from the sender and we can respond in the appropriate manner, and in we can and the outcome of that entire process of communication can result into good feedback. So friends, do remember that when you talk you are repeating only the sentences or the ideas that you already know, but when you listen you may learn something that you don't know. That's how listening is very important, be it any sort of situation. Friends, in the previous lecture we have understood and we have seen the definition of the listening. Again, let us go through the same and then we will talk about the types of various listenings and how it is important to pay attention to all these types that are there in our syllabus, and we'll also understand in detail all these listening types and where in which situations we need to pay attention, at what extent, and that's how we'll understand how to improve the listening skills. Let us look at for a while at the definition of the listening skills. The listening is the ability to accurately receive and interpret the message in the communication process. So while you listen, you pay attention to whatever is being said to you, and that's how you respond in a very effective manner. It's an art of making sense out of the spoken word. It seems very simple that okay, it's just an act of listening, but here is the thing. There is a difference between his listening and the hearing that we have already seen in the previous lecture. So it's very important that we listen while we are in any of the situation where we have to pay attention to what is being said to us by the sender or the speaker. We have already seen the importance of the listening in the previous lecture. We have seen that why it's important while we are working in the corporate sector, where it's be it any sort of meeting that we are in or we are in any of the situation, while listening becomes a very important part of our communication process. In fact, while communicating with our friends, if you have not listened their message properly, chances are high that we may misunderstood what is being said to us. Here we'll now going to see, and now we're going to understand various types of listening and how they helps us to improve. How these types of listenings helps us to improve our listening skills. Friends, look at the types that are mentioned on the screen. The first that we have in front of us is the superficial listening, also known as passive listening. The next that we are able to see on our screen is therapeutic listening. Another one is the focus listening, evaluative and the critical listening, then the attentive or the active listening, and emphatic listening. These are various types of listening that helps us to build, to improve our listening skills. Understanding them in detail, we can analyze the situation, in which situation we are. Say for example, when you are in the classroom, it's very important that we pay attention to what is being said to us. So here we are playing the role of the active listener. So that classroom situation falls under the category of active listening. And understanding this active listening, we may improve our skills of understanding and responding. So let us look at them, each of these types in detail. The first one that we are able to see on our screen is the superficial, or also known as the passive listening. What is superficial or the passive listening? You might have faced the situations where you pay very little awareness, or you pay little attention to what is being said to you. It's a kind of very near to hearing sort of situation. The output or the outcome of the superficial listening would be very zero. Friends, understanding this listening types and understanding the listening skills, or understanding and improving the listening skills, not only helps us to be a good listener, but at the same time it also helps us to improve our speaking skills. Say for example, if you are a public speaker and if you are standing in front of a huge number of people, you can get the idea about what the responses or how the receivers are receiving and what the process of receiving is going on in front of you, so that you can analyze your audience and you can improve your speaking skills with the help of understanding listening too. So that's why there is a lot of importance of listening in the communication. Now let us come back again to the superficial listening. In the superficial listening, the listener tends to ignore the messages a lot. As I mentioned, it's very near to that of the hearing. The listener may not be able to concentrate and the focus on what is being said to them. In the superficial listening, the listener would not support the details of the message. So you might have seen several situations, often it happens in the classrooms too, or this can be applicable to listening the online video lectures. Now here, how this understanding the type of superficial listening will help you to improve your listening skills. So friends, now that we have the idea about the superficial listening, what we can do as a listener is to just avoid such kind of listening practices where we have to literally need to pay the attention to what is being said to us. So that's how understanding the superficial listening will add a lot of qualities and lot of and this understanding this superficial listening will help us to improve our listening skills. Next, let us look at the therapeutic listening. The therapeutic listening is a listening where you enjoy a lot. Say for example, stories, songs, jokes or anecdotes. We all listen to songs, and the songs play a role of therapy. We love to listen the stories, we love to listen the jokes, we love to listen the anecdotes. The music lover may listen to the songs and pick up lyrics too. We all know that the music plays a role of therapy. So therapeutic listening is again very important. We are human beings and we need various means of entertainment, and this music and stories and the jokes and some sort of anecdotes that we listen plays the role of therapeutic listening. The next that we are able to see on our screen is focus listening. Now here it's very important to understand the focus listening. We need to analyze the situation, in which situation we are, and we can play a role of focus listener in those situations. For specific information, we pay sometimes a lot of attention to what is being said. Say for example, while attending any of the classes, if somebody will ask us or somebody will inform us that this question is very important from the exam point of view, instantly we'll pay attention to those kind of information. Now here is an example of focus listening. Focus listening is to get the information which might be useful to make the decision. Here I have shared one situation. Now let us look at another situation. While attending any corporate meetings, while attending any sort of meetings, the things which are of our importance or the role that we need to exhibit in future are being explained to us, we're going to pay attention to those things a lot. That is where we can improve our listening skills. We also pay sometimes selective attention or very focused attention to the radio and the TV program news, the railway announcements and the airport announcements. The information which are of our use or the ideas which are of our use, we pay a lot of attention to those things. So that falls under the category of focus listening. Now let us understand what is evaluative listening and the critical listening. While we listen any message, as a human being, our mind instantly evaluates the message that comes to our ears. We keep interpreting all the messages that comes to us. We keep analyzing all the messages that keep coming to us. So that's what falls under the category of evaluation. Say for example, if you are going to a movie, a theater, and you are watching that movie and the dialogues that are being said to you, you being a movie watcher, being a movie lover, it's your capacity, under your capacity, you're going to evaluate the messages, the dialogues, the moral of the story that are being conveyed to us through the visuals. So that falls under the category of evaluative listening. It's again very important that we pay attention to or in order to improve the listening, we evaluate the messages that are being said to us. And the critical thinking is again one of the 21st century integral skills that we need to acquire. So critical thinking and the critical evaluating the messages, critically thinking and critically evaluating the messages will help us to grow further in the future. While attending any meeting, the roles that are being explained to us, that say for example, we are attending a meeting wherein we are being asked to achieve some or to accomplish some sort of projects, and we have been explained to the roles that we need to exhibit in future. So here, if we have evaluative mindset and if we are critically listening those messages, we will evaluate our roles and the responsibilities, and we can also ask them the questions. So therein, the evaluative listening is again very important in terms of improving our listening. The output can be oral responses, summarizing the message, recalling the information. This particular evaluative listening can happen in the structured talks, the classroom, the workshops, the meeting, the conferences. So again, this skill is very important, evaluative listening or critical listening. The next, if we pay attention to, is the attentive listening or the active listening. We pay complete attention to what is being said to us during the active listening process. Active and the intelligent listening is the one wherein the listener involves with a positive mindset of evaluating the message in appropriate manner. Say for example, if we are partaking in a group discussion and we are one of the participants and we need to talk and we need to continue with the flow of the group discussion, it's very important that we pay attention to what is being said to us. So here's how this active listening or understanding the active listening and attentive listening will help us to improve our listening skills. The interaction or the interactive and the productive facilitating in a proper manner interactions can be one of the situations where the listener would play a role of active listener. One thing is very important in terms of active listening is that a listener has to play a role of kind of a person who plays a lot of attention and who concentrate more and involves him or herself into the process of listening. And last one is empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is understanding more of speakers or the senders emotions and feelings and state of mind. So if you are an empathetic listener, you'll pay a lot of attention to how the speaker is feeling today. And understanding their feelings, emotion can also convey a lot of unsaid messages. So that's done with the types of listening. Very quickly, we're going to see various barriers that come across during the process of listening. As we can see, the barriers of the listening can be categorized into these four major categories called physical barriers, psychological barrier, linguistic barriers, and the cultural barriers. The physical barriers are the noise around. We have already seen that in hearing. What do we listen? If we are coming here, let's say if you are going somewhere in the traffic and the sounds of the vehicles around or the noise of the vehicles around, we do not pay attention to those vehicles. But during the same traveling, if you are communicating with someone else, the chances are high that due to that noise pollution, you are not able to pay attention to the messages are being said to you. The same happens in the physical classrooms. There are kind of situations, right? So physical discomfort, physical distractions, the distance, knowing too much. If the speaker is delivering message far from somewhere, the chances are high that we are not able to listen carefully. Psychological barrier, our state of mind, our state of emotions, anxiety, if we are overburdened with the emotions, our cognitive barriers, the prejudice towards the speaker plays a lot of role in the this listening process. So it's very important that when we listen someone, we are free from the psychological barrier. Again, to improve the listening skills, understanding these barriers will help us to how to avoid these barriers if we are in the situation where we are a listener. Linguistics barriers. Sometimes we have seen, we might have faced the situations where we do not share the same language codes with the speaker. If let's say the proper is not being delivered, the message is not being delivered in the proper manner, that can be again one of the reason for the linguistic barrier. If the ambiguous language, the language is very confusing, several jargons that the speakers are using, speaker speed can again decide whether the listening can be of any positive feedback or not. So it's very important that we being a listener try to minimize the linguistics barrier and the cultural barrier. It's very important to overcome the cultural barrier to improve the listening. We have seen that if we do not share the same cultural code with the speaker, chances are high that we may misunderstood their messages. In several countries, the hand gestures, the hand movements of several signs can stand for something else. Then what do we have in our culture? So it's very important to understand all these cultural barriers and to try to overcome these cultural barriers in order to improve the listening skills. Cultural differences, different value system for us, if we are laughing like this can be okay, but in other countries laughing like this can be a sign of improper or undervalue system. Different social norms are again responsible for the cultural barriers, and environmental barriers are there. So as a listener, we need to keep in mind that in order to improve our listening skills or in order to improve the listening, we overcome such barriers, be it physical, be it a psychological, linguistics barrier or the cultural barrier. So that is done for today. I hope you have enjoyed a lot while learning about the listening types and the listening barriers. Try to keep revising them, and done for today's lecture. See you next time. Till then, take care and have a great day ahead.